Andre Iguodala was talking about Rasheed Wallace, and he said if Rasheed Wallace played in nowadays NBA, he'd be a top 5 player, and he'd be better than Giannis.
Who said this?
Iguodala. Andre Iguodala said this, that Rasheed would be better than Giannis if he played in modern times.
I mean, I don't really get into guy play then, play now. The one thing I do know is that Rasheed Wallace is one of the most skilled and best power forwards I've ever played against. I can say that. Now, I'm not going to get into what he would do in different eras, but I do know for a fact from what I've seen from a skill standpoint, knowledge of the game, talking on the court, defensively, well-rounded player. He's one of the best power forwards I've seen that don't get talked a lot. If I had to put a guy in front of him that don't get talked about a lot, would be Derek Coleman. Those two guys, I think you can ask a lot of the top power forwards about those guys, and I bet you they would confirm the talent and skill that they have.
Yeah, because you can put those guys like Iguodala said, you can put those guys playing now. I mean, the way they play generationally. That game could be picked up anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think for Rasheed, I think what you see is a guy that's pushing 7 foot and very skilled. He can score on the block, both hands, shoot the 3, play defense. So I think that his versatility for now, I mean, guy that could play some power forward, play center. You could try to put him on the Anthony Davis. You could try to put him on the Joel. I mean, that versatility and then being able to make shots, and you can give him the ball and he can ISO one-on-one and score. I see why Andre would say that based on his skill set. But, like I said, I don't really get into what they would be, but the talent was there.
I think another guy that you could say that about too, in a lot of ways, is Lamar Odom. I think he would excel way more in today's game than he did then.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of guys. I mean, I think that when people look at, that time that those guys play versus now, it's with the freedom of movement, it's a lot of guys that didn't have maybe as much success because of that rule and that aggressiveness. The more freedom of movement, that you were giving guys back then, the more guys would have numbers probably would have been better. But I think that the fact that the way the rules were in, you had guys, that was probably a little stronger and not as talented. They were able to kind of get their way against some guy that maybe wasn't as physical, but he was really extremely talented. So that physicality kind of, how can I say, evened the playing field a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I think that it's a lot of examples like that. I Bleav that, and that's where a lot of people say the game was different. It's different from the standpoint, but I personally think that any guy can play in any era because they're professionals. It's just that how effective you are or your role may change. Superstars, and I don't think it's that a lot of them, but the superstars I think could be superstars in any era.
Do you think some of that's coaching stubbornness too? Like in NFL, the same way. Like you had a lot of coaches that used a guy within their system, and they wouldn't kind of go out of their coaching system to excel at a guy's skill set that he's really good at. Like, well, you're going to play my small forward position. I know you're really good at that, but
I think it was really the skill set of whoever was causing or, whoever was getting double teams or making the plays easier for you. And usually people play inside out because back then, if you had the guy one-on-one, you either had him on the block where he could catch and score before the double team came. A lot of ISOs on the perimeter, guys were able to do it, but it was easier to double team those guys and kind of take the ball out of their hand. So that's why the inside out was there, the inside out. And then you put teams in rotation. When you put teams in rotation, then you can penetrate the rotation, or you can offensive rebound on the rotation, or you can knock down shots on the rotation. But it was all, started by a guy being able to score on the block. And then you get guys like Michael Jordan who didn't really get on the block as much, but catching it on the elbow was still looked at, sort of the triangle offense. It was still looked at as the block because it was a quick catch and shoot, a quick catch and play where, you could play away from the double team, or you can get movement on the weak side, so it was harder to double team in that triangle offense. But you also needed a Michael Jordan or Kobe to make it work even better. But that's why I just think that, it's just different. I mean, guys would have found a way, just like they did in the 90s, from the 80s and the 2000s, and like you find a way. That's what I think, that the players and the coaches, executives, people in the NBA, you find a way, and based on the rules that they put in, every time they put something in, people have come with a way to succeed with it. So I think that that's the elevation of the game. And I just think if a guy putting a guy into now, it's different. It would be different for him. Just like putting a guy in the past, it would be different. So you would have to still have to. That's why I say guys can still be successful. It just may look different. Like, you think a guy like Steph Curry
they have to evolve a little bit.
But
for sure.
With the way the rules were, it would be hard for Steph to come and shoot those deep shots with guys allowed to ride on your hip. So I think with the knowledge that Steph has in his game, he would be effective, but he probably would do it differently because he would, be a little more Richie Miller, where you get more freedom and catch and shoot and run off screens more so than coming down and shooting with someone on your hip. So that's why I'm saying, like, I think you could be successful, but it'd be just different because, the rules kind of put you in a situation where those guys find out what works for them. And, guys are too good. They're not going to just make bad plays or bad shots. So you adjust. And that's what I think, they're doing. I mean, I just think it's silly to think that a guy couldn't do something before and now he can. Like, you can't compare the times and the players. I just know that they're all NBA players, and I enjoy watching them all.
Yeah. People can just go on and on with the whole era talk. It's too hard because the game's the same, but it's different from era to era.
Just clickbait. I mean, just get somebody to click on what you say, how you feel. I mean,
or like Ray Allen arguing with a bunch of kids at a camp.
I mean, it's really irrelevant. But I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, but Ray can feel however he feels. Who's to say he's wrong? Like, he played with all them guys.
That's the beauty of it, right? That's the beauty of it.
I mean, I just, people argue with the guy that actually did it. He may actually have a little knowledge.
True, but doesn't personal relationship with that guy that you played with play into that? Maybe it isn't just I'm not saying Ray. I'm just saying sometimes there are bad feelings beef between players, and they don't come out and say, "Oh, I had beef with so and so," but it comes out in their opinion about their team.
I understand what you're saying, but Michael Jordan did say he felt Isaiah Thomas was the second best point guard ever.
Yeah,
and we know his beef there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So
that's after a long time. That's all I'm
saying. We know his beef there, though, right?
Yeah.
But I get it. I mean, but excuse me. I do understand what you're saying. And I do think that when people don't have a great relationship with someone, they tend probably to give them less credit. Yes, I do feel that. But I've yet to see a guy say a guy couldn't play. He wasn't good. Maybe he wasn't as good as maybe the next guy. But when you one thing I can say is when you're in that league and you're playing in that league, you know who the top players are. Guys in the league know. People can fight it and they can say whatever they want, but when you in there, it's just in anybody else's profession. You can go to whatever your profession may be. When you go into that building, if you're the best, you know who's the best in your profession. You know who it is. Now other people may have an opinion and want to argue it and pull out stats and pull out all these other stuff, but at the end of the day, when you're in there,
Yeah.
Like, we're diehard Embiid fans, obviously. We're Sixer fans, but that's one of the moments I knew that how highly regarded he was in the league. When they were going all-star games, they were going ISO with Embiid, like, just give the ball to Joel. That's the cream of the crop, saying no one can stop him. We know that because we play against him all the time.
Yeah.
It's almost like the game admitting like how good he was. I was like, man, Embiid really is that guy, huh?
Yeah, and like, it's just, when it's a hard matchup, for people, like, people,
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes people even have a guy that can defend them really well, but they still, you still know.
Ball don't lie.